The Ozarks feel like a landscape designed for those who want to disappear from the map. Densely forested hills, narrow valleys, and dirt roads rarely traveled. The region offers a compelling mix for homesteading enthusiasts, relatively cheap land, long distances from major cities, and local regulations often far more relaxed than in urban areas. After the waves of the pandemic, the ritual of returning to the land shifted from hipster romanticism to a real-world survival strategy. Digging your own well, growing your own food, homeschooling your kids, all sold as the cure for modern-day burnout. Around the Ozarks, the homesteading phenomenon is nothing new. But what drew international attention was the rise of groups using the concept as a political platform, declaring closed communities based on ancestry or traditional values. So why the Ozarks? Beyond the economic appeal, cheap land, and geographic isolation, there's also a sociological factor. In certain rural parts of specific states, the existing population is already overwhelmingly white. This makes the creation of ethnic enclaves feel easier socially. Not that it's legal or moral, but it helps explain why such groups choose these locations. When homesteading is paired with nostalgic ethnic narratives and rhetoric about protecting the family, it shifts from a quiet rural project into a national issue, testing the line between freedom of association and anti-discrimination laws. The birth of Return to the Land. One of the most hotly debated examples is a movement known as Return to the Land, RTL, which first gained traction in 2023, spearheaded by two figures who have since become frequent subjects in media reports, Eric Orwell and Peter Sherry. Orwell gained attention as a vocal activist on social media, advocating for European identity and self-sufficient living. He presents himself as a traditionalist disillusioned with the direction of modern American society, particularly what he refers to as moral decay and the influence of globalism. From this worldview emerged the idea of building a new, values-driven community in rural Arkansas. Together with Sari, Orwell purchased approximately 150 to 160 acres of remote land near Ravenden, Arkansas, part of the rugged and isolated Ozark landscape. There, they began initial development, dirt roads, wooden homes, and basic homesteading infrastructure. But they framed the project as more than a rural settlement. It was, in their words, land for the rebirth of the European people.
We are for European heritage. That's our history. That's where we come from. We want to perpetuate that. I think that's very natural.
RTTL is not registered as a public housing cooperative or traditional community. Instead, it operates as a private membership association, PMA, a closed organizational structure in which membership is governed by internal agreements rather than public housing law. This legal gray area is where Orwell and Sari claim they can control who is allowed to join, without adhering to anti-discrimination laws like the 1968 Fair Housing Act. To join RTTL, applicants must go through a vetting process. They are required to provide proof of European descent, sign a community code of ethics that explicitly rejects liberal values and modern lifestyles, and commit to physically contributing to the development of the land. There is no system of buying or selling property. Instead, members pay dues and receive living space based on their contributions to the project. To its supporters, RTTL represents a moral and spiritual revival. But to critics, it is viewed as a 21st century form of racial segregation, dressed in the aesthetics of homesteading and the language of religious renewal. Orwell insists that his project is not about hate, but rather a legitimate expression of freedom of association. However, many legal experts and civil rights advocates argue that using this principle to build a racially exclusive community undermines the spirit, if not the letter, of constitutional and civil rights law. As of now, RTTL is under scrutiny by human rights organizations and legal scholars across the U.S., who warn that, left unchecked, it could set a dangerous precedent for similar exclusionary movements. Life on the land. From the air, return to the land. Doesn't look all that different from any other rural settlement in the Ozarks. Dusty dirt roads, freshly cleared fields, and scattered wooden homes dotting the green expanse. But beneath that peaceful exterior lies a community built on strict structure and deliberate secrecy. At a glance, it may appear simple, but life inside RTTL runs like a well-oiled machine. Every member has a role. Some tend to the crops, others build infrastructure, oversee security, or homeschool the children. According to a Sky News report in July 2024, most of the buildings were constructed collectively, without the help of outside contractors. Daily life on Eric Orwell's homestead resembles a scene pulled straight from the American frontier. Electricity comes from solar panels, water is sourced from self-dug wells, and food is homegrown organically on private plots and livestock pens. The children do not attend public school. Instead, they're homeschooled using a custom curriculum developed by the community that emphasizes traditional values and total self-reliance. Their economy reflects the same ethos of independence. Members trade harvests and goods through a basic barter system, an attempt to revive a kind of pre-industrial economy that, to some, may sound idyllic. In reality, the isolation makes access to emergency services and healthcare extremely limited. Each day runs on a strict routine. Former members interviewed described mornings that begin with group prayer and a chore assignment. There's no modern entertainment, no reliable phone signal, and the internet is used sparingly only for the community's administrative needs. The lifestyle they present to the outside world is one of pure living, free from the distractions and vices of modern society. But to outside observers, it looks more like intentional isolation than a purely ecological choice. And beneath that image of self-sufficiency lies something more exclusive. Outsiders, especially those who aren't white or who hold different values, reportedly find it nearly impossible to gain entry. Some reports suggest that newcomers must pass a kind of ideological loyalty test, pledging to uphold certain conservative beliefs and actively participating in group activities that lean toward the extreme. As the group's lifestyle and policies began attracting public attention, the local response in the Ozarks became sharply divided. For many, it started as little more than a rumor about some folks from out of town starting a community in the hills. But when policies like white only and no gays surfaced, reactions followed swiftly. Some locals dismissed it as a private matter on private land, but others voiced clear opposition. So while RTTL claims to promote self-reliance and freedom, what it really builds, some say, is a new kind of wall. Not one made of wood or stone, but one that divides nonetheless, just as powerfully. Public controversy and media spotlight. The sudden virality of Eric Orwell's community in the Ozarks wasn't without reason. Since early 2025, national outlets like Rolling Stone and Vice News have zeroed in on the group's No Gays, No Outsiders campaign. Orwell himself describes this as a return to classic American moral values, but many see it as blatant, unapologetic discrimination. Tensions escalated when local residents reported subtle threats aimed at newcomers attempting to purchase land near the homestead. Civil rights groups, including the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, have labeled the community as a clear example of the growing rise of racially and ideologically exclusive enclaves in the American South. Ironically, for a subset of online sympathizers, the community is viewed as a kind of utopia, a safe haven for families hoping to escape modern society. Forums like Patriot Homesteaders and Faith and Frontier regularly praise Orwell as a visionary figure, brave enough to stand against America's moral decay. But beyond the culture war rhetoric, the controversy surrounding the community in the Ozarks has spilled into legal, security, and digital spheres. First, several investigative reports from the Arkansas Times and the Daily Beast suggest the group may be in violation of land use and zoning laws. Allegations include unpermitted construction, such as self-built communication towers, and even a makeshift paramilitary training area. The FBI reportedly monitored the region after videos surfaced online showing members practicing with firearms in uniform formations. Second, concerns have emerged about online-driven radicalization. Orwell is known to be active on platforms like Telegram and Gab, where he posts anti-LGBTQ+ content and rejects what he calls cultural mixing. In some posts, he refers to his homestead as the last moral bastion of white America. As a result, some internet users have dubbed it the Ozark Aryan Homestead. Third, the social fallout has spilled into the local economy. Some businesses in nearby towns have refused service to members of the homestead, while others quietly accommodate them for economic gain. The broader community is divided. Some see the group as a dangerous threat. Others regard them simply as reclusive settlers trying to live off the grid. Sociocultural meaning: a new model of segregation? The emergence of Eric Orwell's homestead community in the Ozarks reopens one of America's oldest wounds: segregation, white supremacy, and the deep-seated fear of diversity. But this time, the form is different. It's no longer about separate schools or bans on interracial marriage, but about self-contained, independent homesteads, cloaked in the language of personal freedom. From a sociocultural perspective, many researchers now view Orwell's movement as a new form of segregation, one that doesn't rely on overt violence, but instead builds invisible walls through isolation, selective membership, and extreme conservative moral ideology. Under the guise of preserving traditional values, the community effectively rejects pluralism and modernity. Dr. Megan Hartsfield, a sociologist at the University of Arkansas, refers to the phenomenon as cultural regression, a retreat from social progress rooted in fear of change. They live in the 21st century, she told NPR in a recent interview, but they're thinking like it's the 19th. The irony is striking. What was once the American homesteading ideal, self-reliance, neighborly cooperation, and resilience, has now been reinterpreted as a tool for exclusion. Orwell and his followers have redefined independence not as freedom within diversity, but as freedom from diversity. It's a stark contradiction to the very spirit of the Ozarks, long known for their open-handedness, mutual aid, and tight-knit rural communities.